get that really first.
It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
Right. Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, so if we can make a start, can I welcome you all to the online meeting of the Brent Knoll Parish Council. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. Could I just ask anyone, both members and members of the public, if you've got a mobile phone or a mobile device, if you can make sure it's on silent or turned off. I do know Amy, you're on call, so understood. Also, just to remind members that and when you want to speak, you can draw my attention by raising your hand so we can see who wants to comment. And a reminder to everyone that the meeting is recorded and obviously then displayed on YouTube later. If we start with public speaking, I think we only have one member of the public. Abby, you want to just introduce yourself and...
Thanks, Bob. So my name is Abby Maguire. I'm an independent councillor on Shepton Mallet Town Council, and I'm running in the next general election as an independent, and Brent Knoll will form part of this new constituency. I know you're going to be changing MPs probably. I bumped into Bob all over the place because he's obviously a Somerset councillor, and this is really just a listening exercise. I'm here just to listen to what's important to your council. I'm not here to bat you over the head with anything else, and if you want to ask me any questions, feel free. I'm happy to try and answer them, but if not, it's fine. Carry on.
Anybody got any questions you want to ask Abby before we start?
No, it's good to meet you. I'm sure there's loads of questions we could probably ask you, but we have a separate meeting on our own. But it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. I'll hang around afterwards. We can have a chat.
Yeah, I'm glad you've made yourself known to us.
Maybe you have Owen have your contact details.
Yeah.
And we can circulate them around the members.
Yeah, thank you.
No, fine, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right, members, we'll move on to then the meeting itself. So we'll start with item 1, which is apologies for absence.
Just from David Knott. He is working this evening. This time of the year, of course, he's pretty well occupied with various things. So, yeah.
I think he said he would join us if he could later, but if he arrives, he does. If not, our member's happy to approve his absence. That's carried. Item 2 is declarations of interest. I'll kick off as normal, which is the normal interest in terms of my membership of Somerset Council, also my involvement with the parish hall in Brent Knoll, and the special dispensation I have in relation to the shop in the village.
Shareholder of the shop.
Shareholder shop.
Yeah.
Same shareholder shop.
And that's everyone, thank you very much. Item 3 is approval of minutes of the last meetings, which were the meetings held on the 7th and the 21st. If we take them individually, we'll start with the 7th. I've got an amendment to the one on the 7th, which is I'm suggesting that we delete from item 25/23, where it says in brackets different to the agenda subject. Situation is, I believe there was a misunderstanding at the 7th meeting. The wording of the item that was on the agenda related to election and then referred to the working groups. It was thought that was linked, and that's why it was the confusion. We've since been told that actually the election you were referring to was the election of the chairman, so happy to accept that. My recommendation would be we delete the bit which says different to the agenda subject. We did have the issue raised. Also, at this point, I would like to just acknowledge the fact that it was right. We should have signed the form at the meeting. It was drawn to our attention. We took advice, and that's why we then had the meeting on the 21st. So, thank you to Melina for highlighting that. What I will just say is, for anybody else in the future, if there's something like that that crops up, if you can let us know before the meeting, then obviously we can take advance information and hopefully deal with it. But as I say, it has been addressed now, and thank you for drawing it to our attention.
It has been removed off the agenda for minutes, so...
Okay, we'll need to get that proposed and seconded if that's accepted. Is there any other comments on the 7th? If not, if I've made a proposal that's removed, is that seconded?
No, I wanted to make a comment.
Okay,
Yeah. My comment was just regarding Councillor, who Gord and whether she was in fact an ex-councillor or not an
I think that
ex-councillor.
comes up on the next minute,
Oh,
the
okay,
21st.
okay, right, sorry.
We'll get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So is the removal of, so approval of those minutes with the removal of difference to the agenda subject, is that seconded? Thank you, Aidy. All those in favour that we sign those then please show. That's clearly carried, so I'll
So
do
the
that.
June. It's on the front or back, doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's fine. Great.
So we then move to the second set of minutes, which is the 21st, and Melina. You want to comment on?
Just where Sarah was regarded to as an ex, it made it seem as if I was nominating an ex-councillor, whereas to my understanding she was in fact still a councillor at that point.
I think, just to clarify the position with Sarah, Sarah had contacted the clerk on the day of the meeting beforehand to advise him that she was resigning. The clerk, by email, asked that she could put something in writing that could be announced at the meeting, which she did. But her resignation was received in effect before the meeting took place, so there was no decision at that meeting to either accept or refuse the resignation, so she had already gone by that point. So I think in fact she wasn't a councillor beyond that meeting because she'd resigned before it. Subsequent to that meeting, she did write to me when she was responding to me contacting her, saying that she was definitely no longer a member of the council. Not to be, so she at that point was accepting that she was not a member either. So I think, again, it's good to get it clarified, but I think it is right that she was not a councillor. But understood. Anybody got any other amendments or comments to those minutes? If not, can I have a proposal that they're an accurate record? Thank you, Colin. And the second. All those in favour that I sign those? Any against? And any abstentions? Okay, that's clearly carried. Thank you. So that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the planning considerations. Colin, I think you're going to do the introduction.
David had asked me to step in. Could we do
Yeah, I've got a planning application up for you.
could we look at proposed elevations?
Proposed elevations.
This is an application to extend a house, and the items that are being extended are marked in red dotted lines and they can, so that you can see where the elevations are on all the drawings. I think this property, correct if I'm wrong here, Bob, is the last property on the Battleborough Lane end of the lane that you gain access to from the A38. Okay, there are just two properties, aren't there? And I think this is the last one before you walk across the field. Now, this application was first submitted in 2015, and this is a homeowner application to replace a lapsed consent of 2015, and the number was 0715 0006. So I went back into the archives to check whether this was exactly the same. In other words, they want to, it lapsed, so they're resubmitting it now and want a formal approval again. And I did confirm that the work is exactly the same as now being requested to do. It was passed on the 15th of May 2015, and the description is exactly the same and the drawings are exactly the same. So this is merely confirmation that they can carry on or renew that planning application. So I can't offer you any more than that. It was already passed in 2015, so there's no reason for us to object to it. It will enhance the property, and I can't say any more than that. it's a very sensible proposition. So I'll leave it with you to ask me any questions or make a proposal.
There's no change in tiles in the flat? It's
No,
all-
no, all exactly the same. I mean, it's probably best to pass it with no observations.
I
because
propose we pass it with no observations. If there's no change at all, so I propose no observations.
I'll second
That's
that.
Any other comments before we come to a vote? No? In which case, it's been moved that we have no observations. Those please show that are in favour of that. Click carried.
I'll break my neck now.
That moves on the agenda to item 5, which is clerk's report.
Yeah, nothing really to comment on, apart from I've got another email listing for everyone here somewhere. Stuff. There it is. The email listing, as you know, started last month. One councillor asked me to forward all the emails for that particular month, which I have now done. This is the same listing but for July. And again, I try to put a little bit of detail as to what it's actually for. A lot of this stuff tends to be updated information, news information, bulletins, and a lot of it is quite samey actually. You know, there's a lot of repetitiveness about it. But if there's anything on the list that you like, think I'd like to know a bit more about that, then please let me know, and I'll forward it on as I did last month. So if you could pass them around, Jane, right. There was less actually this month, I would say. There's probably less emails this month. Jane, right?
I'm curious, you're just looking at it.
I didn't know it was
No, it's so
I didn't know it was
choose which
take
ones
one
you
and
want.
pass it on.
Yes. Take one and pass them on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't want one, I'm going to do the same as last month and just
Right.
have everything and read through it, thank you.
So has everyone got a copy of the
You
list?
don't have email anyway, so, you know, but if you want any information, then
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So,
yeah, the only other thing to say, just in terms of the receipt of the agenda, I didn't receive it from everybody, which means that technically you could argue without that receipt you haven't received notification of summons for the meeting. Now, you know, that it is something that's quite important. All the emails that I send out, that is the one that is most important to get a reply to, because it's a bit like, for example, you can imagine posting one through a letterbox and you know it's been done. With email, I can put the signature on the top of the email, but even that is not totally acceptable. You should get a reply back. Most didn't. There were a couple of them that didn't. So just a little system thing that would be worth just mentioning. But nothing else about that.
thank you very much. Which moves on to item 6, which is the working groups. Footpaths, are there any issues that have come up from the footpath team?
Yeah, a couple. The going around by the reservoir from Windy Ridge to the water tower is very, very overgrown. I went up there the other day and I could push through, but it is bad, growing in on both sides, and it's over waist height. So I don't know if there. So obviously the bit that we had the problems with before on the 2 fields, the 3 fields, that's bad, and behind the water tower is as well. So that was the one thing. The other thing a couple of people have spoken to me about is that Windy Ridge have got signs up on the gate going out of our car park and the stile that goes into the field from the other side, saying that you need to keep to the perimeter of the field. Whereas the footpath actually, as far as I can see, it always has, and it looks like on this map it goes through diagonally across the field. Well, they've actually confronted a couple of people, well, I've been told, I haven't seen this, but I've been told they've confronted some people and said, could you stick to the perimeter? I mean, very politely, I think, but It's just whether, if people persist in going through the middle, are we going to have an issue here?
I think, as you said, I think the footpath is actually through the middle of the field. It's
That's
not
what it looks
around
like.
the edge.
That's
If
what it
they
looks
wish
like
to,
on
they
the
can
map.
apply for a diversion, which will have to go through the process.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing wrong if they want to encourage people to use their drive, and people are willing to do that.
yeah, it's
That's
not
fine.
the drive, because they've got the drive fenced off, so
Yeah.
it's around the very perimeter where they fenced it, but I don't know if we need to send them a letter or something and say, look, I know you want to reroute this, but, because it's just if anybody gets in an altercation and
Yeah.
somebody, and they ask somebody, they probably don't know that, you know, you can't just say, we'll go around the edge, but, yeah.
Okay, are members happy that we drop a friendly note to Windy Ridge just to point out where the line of the footpath is? And advising them, should they wish to go down the route of moving it, then there are ways and means doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do that.
In terms of maintenance,
Yes.
Colin, we had some work done by, is it Pin, Mr. Pin, who did some cutting for us?
Stephen Pinn gave us a quote last year for strimming the path from the church to the top of the knoll. He gave us a price for strimming around the car park, and he gave us a price for strimming that path which is overgrown. The quote was about £540 or something. I don't know how we viewed it. I think at the time Sarah probably said that we should probably have another quotation which we could get, albeit Stephen's price is very good. My problem is that we don't know who owns that footpath, and before I do anything, I would want Chris East up from Somerset to assess that path as to whether it is right, because history says that Mike Diamond fenced off that path so that people wouldn't walk through his fields, and he created that path which he did maintain once a year. And of course, now we've got new owners, there is this dispute as to who owns what, but the land registry would say, or used to say, that Mike owned the area up to the tree line, which included the area designated as a path. And I just feel that if we go in and trim that path, we will be more or less saying, well, it's our responsibility, and I don't believe it is.
Yeah.
The Allsops need to be contacted, and Chris East need to be involved, or indeed the land registry.
So so our council happy then that we contact who we think are the landowners, and that will also be the water company for the bit that goes around the reservoir, to ask them, both landowners, that they need to clear up their bit.
Yeah, if it is ours, then yes, we can get a quote.
To be honest, ultimately none of it's ours. It sits with somebody. It's not going to be the parish council. We have done maintenance in the past, like we've done the things with the improvement of stiles. We've done that to help landowners.
Yes.
But at no point does the path belong to us. It's definitely a landowner. Okay, so if we start off then with, if everyone's happy that we write to the landowners, the two landowners that we're talking about here too. Do we need to write to Windy Ridge in terms of maintenance as well, or is that not an issue?
I don't think it's too much of an issue. They've mowed it, I think, they were mowing it, so it's not a problem. And the path through the middle, as it always has been, has always been trodden down, well trodden down, so yes, so that's not
the issue is the livestock that they've now got in the pens, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why they want to keep dogs away.
They've got
Alpacas.
Alpacas, that's it, yeah.
All right, so can I just confirm that everyone's happy then that we write to the two landowners concerned and ask them to just make sure it's tight
Should
up?
we get a reply back? Hopefully by then.
All those in favour that we do that, please show. That's clearly carried. Okay. Anything else on footpaths? Can I then raise one, which is, I had an issue raised with me by a couple of landowners and also by the church, relating to the footpath that comes down the knoll, and particularly the effect that it's having on drainage. There have been some flooding issues in Church Lane, near the church. What I'd like just to, is to have permission from yourselves that we have some liaison with the various landowners in that area to see what impact the works that we may have carried out on the footpath are having, and what needs to be done to resolve it, either by them or involving us. But we just wanted to bring it to you before we start having any conversations with landowners. So you're happy that we just have those, see what the issue is and see what needs to be done, and we'll report back before any action is taken to the next council.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
who are the landowners we're going to speak to?
So we would be needing to talk to the owners of the manor, because there may be water issues about going onto their land. It would also involve the people who own the field
Yes.
that runs not immediately behind the church, but the one that goes from the church up to the top.
Yes.
And it would be the church themselves, because they've got some issues about where water's going. And also they're planning to do some paths in the churchyard which they don't want to form, in effect, riverbeds for even more water to shoot into people's properties. So again, just to confirm, if everyone can just show they're happy that we do that. Those in favour, please show. That's clearly carried. Thank you. Next one is highways. Malcolm, anything on highways?
No, I'm not on highways.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Who's on highways now?
Well, that's it's just me.
Hayden.
The edges around the roads now are getting dreadful. They need trimming back. Opposite 189 along here, you know, you've got to come out literally a foot now because it's overgrown, and you know it's causing people beat the horns at each other, throw at each other in front of the wall. Because we obviously are speeding people as well, but they need looking at these edges and that lot around here. Last year, there was obviously, I know David cut a few in that lot last year, but you know he's too busy to do stuff like that. But it needs a tractor around here to cut the edges, so we'll look at. And obviously the bridge again, it's got even worse now.
Bridges in Charles.
Yeah, and no one's contacted anyone, have they? Because there's no email gone to the highways yet at all.
No.
So no one's contacted anyone yet. So,
Okay.
but yeah. Okay.
Highways will be contacted.
And if anyone's got particular locations, you mentioned 189.
Yeah.
If there are other ones, if you can let us know so we can highlight
Yeah.
where the
That's
issues
what
are.
I was asked
But
for.
let the clerk know after the meeting.
Yeah.
John?
Chair, I've been approached by 2 elderly residents of Station Road who have flagged particularly poor state of affairs with the pavement. In the hot weather that we've had, the pavement has broken up. We've got some quite large steps, probably about an inch, inch and a half. Both residents are in their 80s and struggle with anything toward like that. And I think the weather, the extreme temperature has certainly helped. I've taken some photos and I'm very happy to send those to the council if I'm permitted.